Hamburg. That was the real time we got to know Little Richard.
Did nobody know their mothers? I took them with me to Hamburg, Germany, to the Star Club.
We used to say, is it true you threw all your rings off the bridge? Well, of course it's true, child. No, we just sit there for hours like kind of disciples in the dressing room.
That place was magical. Wildness, debauchery, if you wanted it. Richard just absolutely maxed out. Leather pants, the male stripper gear he had.
Richard was a character, man. Great.
Back in the day. Oh,
beautiful
God, he still
guy.
is.
He used to do that steaming thing, you know, with the towel over his head.
Yeah.
He'd do that to get his voice going. I'd do that actually before a show, copying him. He'd do that. Then he'd look up at the mirror, he'd go, I'm so beautiful. I can't help it, because I'm so beautiful. He'd go, yeah. And off he'd go on stage, you know,
Yeah.
building himself up.
Paul was so nice, you know. John used to like to mess with me in my dressing room, you know, quite a bit. I can't say on television what he did, you know. He was something else. In fact, I never met nobody like him.
Really?
I don't think nobody met nobody like him.
No.
But I don't mean he was bad. Now, listen here, I'm not saying nothing bad about him. God bless his soul. But he was all right, but he would mess with me. He wouldn't let me out of my dressing room.
Oh.
He would hold me he would hold the door. And I would be screaming.
My.
And loud.
Loud, I'm sure.
And sometimes I would scream like a white lady. Woo!
All my screaming numbers were to do with him.
Paul was the one that wanted to do the Hollis. I said, woo! He would say, woo, woo, woo.
The next thing you know, woo!
I met the Beatles when I did the tour with Little Richard, and they were opening act on the show. And we became friends then because they would always come and ask me about Richard, about America. So we became really close.
Little Richard's organist was Billy Preston.
One night, George said, well, come on out here and play the organ with us, you know. I said, no, because Little Richard will get mad, you know, because he's the star.
Brian Epstein signed them to 2 late 1962 fortnights at the Star Club back in July of 1962. And at that time, why not? even though it was quite clear how the rest of the year they believed would pan out because they had a recording contract with George Martin by then. When you throw dates into the diary in a distant manner, then you assume it's going to be okay when you get there. But by the time they got to November, John, Paul, George and Ringo didn't want to do it. They really didn't want to come back to Hamburg. They had, the first 3 trips to Hamburg were all long. And these 2 were only going to be short 2-week little drop in and drop out. But by the time November came around, Love Me Do was in the charts and they were beginning to go places, and they were literally within Britain getting outside of Liverpool more and more because they had a record in the charts and because Brian was booking them into out of non-Merseyside places. Big Betty, with whom John had some kind of a fling. They definitely had something going on between them, those two.
Yeah.
And there's a bit in Tune In where I quote Tony Sheridan, now no longer with us, saying that when people were observing John and Bettina together in Hamburg, the common sentiment was, what's he doing with her? But, John didn't do the obvious. And he was drawn to interesting women, and Bettina was one.
She was teaching them something about style, and that they needed to stand out, and that style is just as important, as substance. And substance is very important, don't get me wrong. But they needed to make themselves stand out. And while obviously when they met Brian Epstein and he said, you guys have to clean up, you have to get in the suits and everything, he 100% is credited with that. Right. But I think she was the first to say to them, you have to put a little thought into how you look, and you need to look a little different, to stand out. And that's something that I think they carried with them through their whole careers. So I would, and she studied fashion too, by the way, before she then decided to concentrate on photography.